Oh, it's hot. It's about 31. I have no idea how this has happened. It was only 20 last week. Welcome back, or welcome to Rewired Bites, formerly Cougar Reboot, where we talk about real talk on food, weight loss surgery, recovery without the sugar coating, and whatever else goes on in this mind of mine. I'm Kim, a counsellor in training and NDIS recovery coach, sharing lived experience and professional insights into food addiction, weight loss surgery, and generally just mental health. Sometimes I'll cover topics that may be triggering for those of you living with disordered eating, but I always give a clear indication of what is going to be spoken about before the video gets to that section, and a reminder before diving into the sensitive content so that you can choose what feels safe for you to watch. Disclaimer: I am not yet a fully qualified counsellor / therapist. I'm only doing my Masters of Counselling part-time, I think, this semester. My content is for education and peer support only and is not a substitute for a fully qualified medical or mental health advice. So please seek professional support if you need clinical care. Shortly, I will be discussing my gastroscopy. Oh, got it. My gastroscopy experience, and I will be showing printed digital photographs of my procedure, the inside of my stomach, for those of you who are interested in knowing more about what goes on, and the medical imagery will be there for you to look at. But if you don't, because for any reason, I will give you plenty of notice when to grab a pet to pat or to grab a cuppa. So, and of course, this was my own personal experience. Yours might differ. However, in my cohort, which was about 8 strong, we all had very similar stories. So chances are it will line up approximately with what you can expect. So the preparation for the gastroscopy was that I had to fast from midnight the night before, which was no food, no coffee, and no drinks. The morning of the gastroscopy, I was allowed 200 mils of water in the morning, and that is it. Basically, a couple of sips. And by the time I got to the hospital, I was so dehydrated, and coffee was all that I could think about. At the reception, they asked a swag of the usual questions, expected ones, that was how was I getting home, who was picking me up, what was their phone number, whether someone would stay with me overnight. And I advised that they advised, that this was a necessary precaution due to the minuscule chance of bleeding following the procedure. Then the nurse weighed me, measured my height, and went through all my medications, which took forever. If you have a Webster pack, please just take it with you. What they were particularly interested in was my previous anaesthetic reactions and if I had any before I was getting the gastroscopy. So after signing the consent form, I had to change into my hospital gowns, one at the front, one at the back, and honestly, the most uncomfortable part of the whole experience of my gastroscopy was sitting in the waiting room with just my underwear, my socks and shoes underneath the gown. So, yeah. So the pre-op and the sedation, when it was my turn, the nurse accompanied me into the pre-op room, and she explained I'd be in a twilight state, and that meant sedated but not aware of my surroundings, and that I wouldn't remember anything. But disclaimer, apparently about 1 in 40 people do report hearing voices of the doctors, the surgeons, but that was all no pain or anything. So they advised that they were taking photos of my stomach to check for any irregularities or anything concerning that might affect my pending gastric sleeve surgery. I met my anaesthetist and we travelled to the operating room. I got my line in, laid on my left side, and nestled myself into what seemed like a CPAP machine. It was like a nasal spray. And then I was just completely gone for the whole procedure, which was about a half an hour. And when I came to, I felt a little woozy, but not uncomfortable in the least bit. In recovery, I got myself dressed and I took a seat in a reclining chair and was then handed a printout, instant printout of my results, photos included of the inner workings of my stomach. I'm about to show my gastroscopy photographic report, and this may be triggering for those of you who don't like any kind of medical procedures or images of the insides. So please look after yourself and skip this part for your own well-being, because that comes first. So I'll be showing the photos now. So during recovery, I received food, fluids, and finally that prized cup of coffee. The nurse advised me that the surgeon's office would make a follow-up appointment in approximately 28 days to go through the biopsy and the gastroscopy results. Then a nurse called my support worker to reclaim me. And when my support worker arrived, the receptionist checked again that I was not going to spend the night alone. And when I got home, there was already a letter from the surgical office advising me that I was required in their office on the 28th of this month in October to discuss the results of my gastroscopy. So not long now. So all up, it really wasn't that bad. So if you're going for a gastroscopy, it is just a standard thing not to be worried about. The worst was waiting in the waiting room with my gown on. So aside from that, I had no side effects that night. I felt great. I ticked another box on the surgery prep list, and I just have to say, don't panic if you have one coming up, because you're asleep the whole time and it is over before you know it. And recovery is simple for most people. So if you've had a similar or even a different gastroscopy experience, please consider sharing in the comments. I'm sure other people would get value of that. I definitely would. And if you're on your own, on your bariatric surgery, perhaps consider hitting the subscribe, because I'll be sharing every step right through my bariatric journey. So my name is Kim, in case you missed it at the start. I hope to make your acquaintance in the comments, and thank you so much for spending some time with me to go through my experience, which was just very standard. Thank you for spending time on Rewired Bites. I talk about food, body, weight loss surgery, and recovery with no sugarcoating. I hope to see you very shortly, and please have a wonderful rest of the day.